Welcome to week 2, everyone. Here we are in Biology 120. We've already made it past our first week. We're into our second week. I hope you had a great 4th of July. Got to see some fireworks, visit with some family and friends. Finally, last year we weren't doing that. So finally we're back to being sort of normal. So let's see what we've got going on. First of all, we want to review last week. For just a minute, you learned about the scientific method. So the scientific method is an organized way that we go about figuring out answers to questions and solving problems. This is a very important way that science is done, and we all have to do it if we're scientists because this is the way that we show the validity of our results. You also learned about the characteristics of life. There were 8 characteristics listed in your OpenStax Biology 2nd edition textbook. Remember, it's free. Please use it. Please, 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 so that we're all on the same wavelength here. So the characteristics of life are important because every one of those has to be fulfilled in order for something to be considered living. And you sort of got the gist of that when you had to explain about the characteristics of life and how something non-living could have some of those characteristics. One example of this would be viruses. So I'm a microbiologist, and I love talking about bacteria and viruses and all kinds of other little boogers. But viruses are not considered living by most microbiologists because they don't fulfill all these characteristics of life. They don't reproduce on their own. They have no machinery to do this. They cannot make their own RNA or DNA. They can't make their own proteins. They have to invade a host cell and take over all the workings of that host cell in order to make new copies of themselves. They also don't process energy in any way. They don't take in food. They don't eat. They don't produce their own food. They don't even have ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the most important energy molecule on the planet because it runs things. It runs biochemistry. Viruses don't have that. So they do not meet the criteria of life. And so we don't consider them living. All right, so what have we got going on this week? This week is all about some chemistry that has to do with biology. And you're thinking, well, why do I need to learn about chemistry if this is a biology course? So that we can all be speaking the same language when we're talking about molecules for the rest of the term. So what I need for you to do is read through, or at least skim through, chapters 2 and 3 in your OpenStax textbook. Remember, it's a free textbook. It's online. All you have to do is Google OpenStax Biology 2E. You will find it. And you're going to learn about some chemistry that has to do with biology. In chapter 2, pay particular attention to the discussion about water and why water is important. Water is found in all cells. So it has to have some very important role in order for it to be in all cells. And it does. It's a solvent, so things can dissolve in it. It is adhesive. It sticks to other things. It is cohesive. It sticks to other water molecules, which is important. And it absorbs a tremendous amount of heat before it changes from the liquid state of water to the gaseous state, which is steam. So I think the most important property of all of these is the fact that it absorbs heat. Well, where is all this heat coming from? It's coming from all the chemistry that's going on, all the chemical reactions that are happening inside the cell. If the water wasn't there, all of this heat would burn up the cell. So it's a good insulator. So that's the importance of water. You're also going to learn about the element carbon, and you're going to have to discuss this, I believe, in your journal article this week. Carbon is the element that's the backbone of all organic molecules. Organic just means of organisms, right? So the molecules of life are carbon-based. And why Why is carbon so important? Because it can form 4 bonds with other atoms and molecules. And that means it can make highly complex structures. If you have a backbone of carbon and huge structures. So this is the importance of it. If you're going to have life, you're going to have all different types of molecules in order for your cell or your organism to function. And that's why carbon is the backbone of life. In Chapter 3, you're going to learn about the 4 groups of organic molecules. Carbohydrates. You know these, sugars, starches. They're not, all carbohydrates are not used for energy. Some of them are structural. You've also got the group called lipids. Lipids are fats, oils, and waxes. And you know that these, if I say fat, you know that that's energy storage, right? But also many hormones are lipids, so communicating molecules are lipids. They're very important, of course. They're hydrophobic. They repel water, so that's another important characteristic of them. Then you have proteins, which are made of 20 essential amino acids and all different combinations and numbers of these amino acids. Most proteins in cells are enzymes, and enzymes are proteins mainly that carry out the biochemistry of cells. They actually do the work. They make and break bonds, and so that's the work that has to be done inside cells. And then we have the nucleic acids, which include DNA and RNA, which you know are molecules of genetics, the genetic code. But also nucleic acids include ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which I've already mentioned, and that is the most essential energy molecule of cells. So you're going to learn about those organic molecules and then apply that in some assignments. Read the Module 2 overview. There are 2 websites there, one about fossil fuels, one about reliable sources on the internet, and a website. All right, then what do you have to do this week? First of all, discussion board postings. Every week, your initial discussion board posting is due on Thursday night by midnight. Your 2 response posts, which are due every week, are due on Sunday night by midnight. So this week, what are you discussing in your discussion board postings? Your initial post is all about explaining the importance of macromolecules, remember those, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids, in cells. Why are these essential to cells? Not just life, not to humans, but in cells. And why is water so important in cells? I have given you clues to that already. And then you're also going to discuss, if you had to complete this equation, food plus water plus some factor X equals life as we know it, what would you consider that X? And we don't mean human life when we say life, we mean any life, all right? So food plus water plus some other something, factor X. What would that be in your opinion? And you're going to explain that. You're going to explain your reasoning behind choosing that factor X. Okay, in your response posts, you're going to talk about nucleic acids in diet. So do we have to consume nucleic acids in order to make our own? And why are they not listed on food labels? So you're going to have to get a food label. I don't have anything in front of me here. Get a food label and see if those are listed. You know carbohydrates are, you know fats are, and you know proteins are. So are nucleic acids. One clue to the answer to this is look at the structure of a nucleotide. So a nucleotide is the smallest subunit of a nucleic acid. Look at it and see what it looks like. That's at chapter 3. So go and look at it, and this will help you figure out why it is not on a food label. Okay, so that's your discussion board postings. Your journal entry this week is all about the properties of carbon, so we started talking about that, and also a link between fossil fuels and carbon dioxide. Okay, so we're looking at the bigger picture now when we're talking about carbon found in organisms and fossil fuels, and then what is produced when fossil fuels are burned, amongst many molecules, carbon dioxide is. So you're going to be discussing that. You will also need to watch the video on reliable sources so that you choose really good sources for your final project. This is week 2. We're already going to start talking about a final project that is due in this course in week 7. Also look at that Shapiro Library website because it's all about using good sources. I'll talk about the final project again in a second, like right now. So for this week, you should look at your final project topics. Here they are listed. Oh, wait a minute. One of them just fell off the bottom of the screen, but I'll talk about that. If you want to do anything other than what is listed here, you need to email me and I will give you the okay or tell you to modify it or tell you no, that is not going to work because that doesn't have anything to do with our course. The Dow Jones. No, I don't think that's got anything to do with biology. Not that I can think of. So anyway, let's go through these quickly. Just so you have an idea of what we're talking about here. So population ecology. Population ecology is a whole science unto itself. It's where you study populations in order to keep a species alive or to try to get rid of a species like an invasive species. So maybe you're talking about an endangered species that you want to come back from the brink of extinction. So population ecology, you don't want to talk about the whole science. You want to talk about something having to do with that. So topics that I've seen before, white-tailed deer population ecology, or population ecology of endangered species and how to recover endangered species. Okay? Air pollution, pretty self-explanatory. You don't want to talk about every single air pollutant in the world. You don't want to talk about all over the whole world. You probably want to narrow this down some because it's a huge topic. Water pollution, same thing. So last term I had a student doing water pollution in Lake Erie. Okay, that's narrowed it down, and so that's a doable kind of a project. The energy crisis and or alternative sources of energy. If you want to do solar panels, solar energy, and solar panels, that'd be awesome. Eutrophication is the over nutrient release and sources bodies of water, which causes these bodies of water to age out too fast. Lakes and ponds eutrophy, and so you get algal blooms and that sort of thing. Right now in South Carolina, that's where I live, we're having algal blooms right now. It has been hot. The sun has been shining a lot, and so we are getting algal blooms, and they are very dangerous. They are dangerous to your pets. Just a couple of weeks back, a lady took her dogs for a quick swim in a nearby pond that had a bunch of algae, and both of the dogs died from the toxins that are released by the algae in there. So it's not just something yucky to look at, the algal blooms. They are extremely dangerous. They release toxins and they use up all the oxygen in the water and kill all the, especially the animal life in the body of water. Okay, human population, how that is changing, what we're doing about that, genetic modification. Choose a concept in here like food crops that have been genetically modified, or livestock animals, or how we're doing this in people. Choose a part of this. Deforestation is an important topic these days, especially with what's going on in the Amazonian rainforest, and in particular in Brazil, because the president of Brazil is encouraging this practice, and here the whole globe depends on the Amazonian rainforest, and he's telling all of his people, oh, please go cut down all the trees. Great. Yeah. Biodiversity and how important it is in ecosystems. You might choose one ecosystem and look at the biodiversity and how to encourage it. You might choose one particular endangered species that you're interested in. Global warming, climate change. Okay, everybody in environmental science knows this is a very big problem. If you'd like to tackle that, okay. Waste management in all different ways, recycling, different types of waste management. I would narrow down that topic too. And then I have more, like I have a couple right here. Microplastics is a type of pollution. See, it's not air or water, though it is kind of water, but it's a narrowed down topic. But microplastics are becoming a very, very important type of pollutant that we really don't know how to get a handle on. Microplastics are found in some beauty products like exfoliants and different things, but also as plastics break down in the ocean, as plastics get worn down more and more and more, they produce smaller and smaller plastic particles. These are microplastics, and we are finding them in all kinds of marine life. Also, something that's not listed here is light pollution, a very important problem. If you have ever flown at night, you know how big a problem this is. If you fly over a city, it is all lit up at nighttime. Why? And this changes the photo period of so many plants and animals. Why are we doing this? Can we prevent it? Yes, we can. There's all kinds of things that we can do. Timers, just shading lights so they all shine downward. If you are interested in stars at all and astronomy, it is very difficult to see stars and planets anywhere near a populated area now because the sky is too bright. So that's light pollution. Okay, so that's a quick review of those final project topics. If you don't see one listed here, or you don't like microplastics or light pollution, you got your own topic, all you have to do is email me and we'll discuss it, and I'll say yes or no, or could you modify it this way or that way, so that you have a good amount of information that you can find and you can make a final project out of it. Some people narrow down their topics so much that there's not going to be enough information for you to find. It has to be a big enough topic, but not too big. See what I'm saying? So anyway, if you have another idea, all you have to do is email me, m.sigmon@snhu.edu, and I'll have it on my PowerPoint here. I do want to give you a tip of the week. I love post-it notes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I have them stuck everywhere. Even on my computer. So my tip of the week is that when you're doing an assignment, you read through the instructions, right? Yep. But how are you going to remember that you've covered everything? Jot down a list of things that you need to answer for each assignment. The journal entries, the discussion board postings. You're going to miss some questions if you don't do this, I promise you, because there'll be 4 questions over in the journal entry that you're supposed to answer, and you kind of skip the top one because it was written in with a bunch of the writing. So please jot down a list of things to answer so that you know that you have answered each one for each assignment. Okay, that's just a quick tip. Here's a state bird of South Carolina, Carolina wren. It was so cute. It was over here hopping around down at the beach, and it was eating a ton of berries that had fallen off of the bushes above it. So I hope you have a good week. Let me know if you need anything. I'm here for you. There's my name, Dr. Janie Sigmon, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. Just let me know if you need anything, okay? Have a great week.